This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
Out of 10, how many numbers do you give it out of 10? And how much did you like it? What types of things did you like or not like, maybe?
I think I would give it probably an 8 out of 10. I feel like it's a typical Joe Abercrombie. I mean, this is the second ending. We have 2 trilogies so far, complete trilogies in the First Law universe. And they're similar in a lot of different ways because Joe Abercrombie, a lot of people call him Grimdark. His Twitter handle is Lord Grimdark. So you come to expect that it's not going to be the happiest endings for our characters. So once you recognize that, which I didn't necessarily understand when I first started reading it, you love the books for what they are. And the plot is fascinating. The prose is great. The twists and turns as you get there are just have you on the edge of your seat. This book really pulls no punches. There's tons of action from beginning to end. You will not be able to put it down if you are a fan of First Law. Now, if you're not a fan of Grimdark and you want happy endings for all of your characters, which I don't know if
how'd you make it this far in the trilogy.
You might not enjoy the book quite as much as you would others. Maybe you should stick to some lighter books. But I think that it is a solid ending of the Age of Madness trilogy. And I can definitely recommend it to any and all fans of Abercrombie.
Yeah, that's really well said, Ryan. And I'm thinking about it now. I don't think I've ever given a rating to a book in my podcasting career. So, Joe, if you're listening, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10, Joe. Abercrombie, I remember when Trouble with Peace ended, I was like, where is this other book going to go? There's a whole other book that is about to happen.
Yeah.
And, Abercrombie as an author continues to challenge himself as an author, continues to challenge conventions of storytelling and of fantasy world building. And he brought his world that he has built, this government that he has built, into this new, pure realm of chaos. And reading that, it feels like you're really reading something that is like, where is this going? What is happening? This all is kind of up in the air right now. And to me, that was really fascinating to see. I'm torn if I liked it more than Trouble with Peace, because I thought Trouble with Peace was a masterpiece, but this was a very, very strong contributor to the series, and I was a huge fan, and we'll get more into it. But if you just want to know my thoughts, spoiler free, excellent end, very happy, and highly recommend.
So 10 out of 10 is your official rating.
10 out of 10.
Oh, wow. All right. Doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah. No, it does not.
Yeah, Joe, if you're listening, I also give it a 10 out of 10. For non-Joes out there, I'm giving it an 8.5 out of 10, which
that's fair.
Still a very solid rating. I don't think Joe can complain too much. There's actually a really funny video of him promoting the Wisdom of Crowds, reading 1-star reviews of some of his other books.
Yeah, he on Twitter also, he always will share 1-star reviews, 5-star reviews. It's always funny.
Yeah. You realize pretty quickly, I'm sure you realize, Charles, having spoken with him, why his books are so funny. Because he's a comic genius out there, very darkly.
He was on the whole time. Any time he could turn what we were talking about into a joke, he'd go for it. So you could tell he does definitely look for the humor in things. And it shows in his books, because even though they are very grim and violent, they also have this kind of ironic humor about them that's really dry, but also hilarious and witty too. So
did he have a pretty dark sense of humor on your show?
he would go there sometimes. We are friendly, family friendly on FTF, and we didn't have to, beep him out or anything, but we were going there. So and he did an AMA on Reddit recently where they were getting into some pretty risque conversation, which was amazing, by the way. But yeah, he was respectable guy. But if you encouraged him, I think he'd go there.
You didn't have to throw the little E up on that episode.
Nope, no E. Family friendly for all those wondering at home.
Yeah, my review of Wisdom of Crowds, I don't know if I have too much more to add to you guys as far as non-spoilers at least, but I think it's a very Abercrombie book in that you're going to be unsatisfied in the most satisfying way, if that makes any sense, by the end. By the end, you're going to have an ending that maybe you didn't know you wanted it until you did, until it was right there in front of you. At least that's how I felt.
I would agree completely. It's shocking and it's at times depressing, but it's always good. It's always well written. So it's a fine line.
Okay. There end the non-spoiler conversation part of the podcast. Charles made it through. He's not after going to the circle. Now we will do
better than Ben
spoilers.
normally does.
Oh, Ben can't keep it together for the spoiler-free section.
He's just too eager.
All right, Steven, let's hear your favorite part.
My favorite part was the whole part in part 9, the third part of the book, the whole Tower of Chains sequence where the trial starts, Savine's trial starts, and then gets interrupted by Leo coming in with the heroic charge that they're going to paint a picture of. And then Savine and Orso get taken to the top of the tower by Broad. Broad saves them. They do this fight, very cinematic fight on top of the tower. Like I was picturing the whole thing and could not put the book down. And of course, this was the perfect moment for Broad to finally decide to change because Savine tricked him with the fake letter, which I thought was brilliant and evil and cunning and very Savine.
Oh, yeah. I was very suspicious of that letter from the beginning. I was like, how convenient.
And Orso, once again, throws himself under the bus to buy more time for Leo to get there. Corporal Tunney is telling him, we need more time. So he goes off with those denouncements and he denounces himself last.
The tension was so high for like pages and pages where I was just on the edge of my seat for so long. Like, I don't know of any other scene where I'm completely enraptured on the edge of my seat, wondering at any moment, like this could all unravel and go wrong. Just, this was the best part of the book. In my opinion, Joe did such a good job here of keeping me interested.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
And honestly, up until it happened, I was reading this book and I had this thought of like, is this even fantasy? Really? Like, I love the book. Is this fantasy? Like, is this in the genre? Like, there's no magic. They talk about magi. I know previous books have had magic, but there's no magic in this book at all.
Yeah, it's true. And, they've made it a point, even beginning with the beginning of the first Law trilogy, where Baez is like, magic is leaving the world. You can't speak to the spirits anymore. Like, that was a huge part of the first book. And then you're being constantly but subtly reminded of that as the trilogy plays out. And then he works in this whole theme of industrial revolution into this trilogy. And that's kind of the whole point. And to bring it all back at the end with the Eater conflict, and then ending with Baez planning his revenge is pretty fascinating. And then when I did speak to Abercrombie, he's like, I always thought what it would be like to have a world where magic suddenly returns into the world, because there's so many books where magic leaves the world, but he was toying around with the idea of bringing magic back. So that's something we may see in the not too distant future.
Well, the prophecy at the end of the book.
Yeah. Right. Let's
that was
go
my
there.
Shocking moment.
Before I do my unexpected thing, let's talk about the prophecy and let's talk about Baez and what we can expect next.
Yeah, yeah. Because I asked Joe. I was like, "So are we gonna get like a sci-fi book in the first? Are we gonna get like First Law in space? Where is this
Like
going?"
Mistborn.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Where is this going?" And he's like, "Well, I always thought about writing a more modern setting where magic comes back." And you can kind of see hints of that with this ominous um, prophecy of Baez having new pupils who are going to come into the world and do crazy, dangerous, destructive things. But this was my kind of shocking moment, I guess. Would be this very end with Ricka and having this prophecy, because I remember I'm like, I'm almost done with this book and nothing has been resolved. And I remember having like that same feeling when I was reading the end of the First Law trilogy. I was like, I feel like there's so much to go to resolve this conflict, but I'm on the last couple of pages and I just loved it, because it's the idea like, look, this crap is never gonna stop. It's just always going to be. We're always gonna make the same mistakes and have to learn our own lessons, and there's always going to be conflict. But that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the good moments when they're here and appreciate them, and do good things when you can. And even if they're small things, just that little bit of good that you can bring into the world is very meaningful. And what I liked about this trilogy is there was actually get a lot of good got to be injected instead of just a little. Like, I feel like Glockto's like, I made a compromise with Baez and maybe I can do stuff at the end of the First Law. And now he's got Baez out of the equation of the Union completely. So it definitely has a really nice final moment. Yeah, exactly. But it was still shocking, but I loved it. I was like, oh man, Baez is planning this whole thing. The end. Okay. Like, why not? So loved it.
The whole thing with the last prophecy. I mean, so Baez is kind of, doesn't he say that he took the Weaver from a different person, the title of Weaver from a different person? I feel like people keep saying that. Or maybe it was Pike.
The Weaver was when Jazal was negotiating, like when he came back from that Fellowship of the Seed. I was like, oh, there's this guy out here. He's leading a rebellion. I'm pretty sure that's the Weaver, isn't it? And that was actually
no, that's the Tanner.
Oh, the Tanner.
Yeah, that was.
I thought that was the
Sulfur
Weaver.
was.
Yeah, and that was Sulfur. Well, I misplaced it then.
I mean, Pike says that he was just assuming the mantle of Weaver for Glockta. Is that what you're thinking, Ryan?
Okay. I mean, we see from Ricka's vision that Glockta has coined himself the Weaver, but Baez is the original Weaver.
Or the real Weaver, or the real second Weaver. I don't know. He's the Weaver. He's now the Weaver.